Vaughn Hilliard, also with us, MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin, and Temadayo Aganga-Williams, former federal prosecutor. So let's start with you, Lisa. What specifically is different in this superseding indictment vis-a-vis the original one?
Well, let's start with the biggest change, Jose. The Supreme Court had said that President Trump's communications with his Department of Justice were part of his core constitutional authority, and the special counsel has responded to that by taking out of this superseding indictment over 15 paragraphs that just talked about the plan to use the Department of Justice to essentially put its thumb on the scale and tell state legislatures that they didn't have to accept their state's slate of electors. That includes a series of conversations with senior leadership at the Department of Justice who told the president in no uncertain terms that there was no evidence of widespread fraud. So that's all gone. In addition, there are some recharacterizations, as you mentioned. There was an effort to try and refer to former Vice President Pence in his capacity as president of the Senate, not as vice president, where he could be considered a presidential advisor, but in his capacity as president of the Senate. It's clear that he and former President Trump are communicating in a different way for which there wouldn't be necessarily presidential immunity. Those are the two biggest changes. And of course, there are many others throughout the complaint, Jose.
Vaughn, how is Trump world reacting to this?
I want to let you listen to J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's running mate. He is the only one so far, at least on camera, who has addressed this superseding indictment against his running mate just 2 months before the election. Take a listen.
I don't think that it changes anything legally. I think it's clearly an effort to try to do more election interference from Jack Smith. He should be ashamed of himself, and it's one of the reasons why we have to win, because he should not be anywhere near power.
Donald Trump himself did send off a flurry of social media posts overnight, calling this a direct assault on democracy. Among those social media posts there, he went on to call this election interference for the 2024 election. We have seen in recent weeks, really over the better part of the summer, him begin to lay the groundwork to be able to claim that the 2024 election was rigged and that election interference changed the outcome of the election. This is another moment in which, sort of facts aside in this case here, he is continuing to argue that the fact that this indictment exists at all after the Supreme Court's immunity decision amounts to election interference. 2 weeks ago, outside of his Bedminster Club, I had the chance to ask him if he were to get back in the White House, would he order his attorney general to dismiss the indictment for those federal cases against him. He did not explicitly answer me, but he said that they were nonsense cases. Of course, if he were to get in the White House in 2025, he would potentially be able to order his Department of Justice to toss these cases against him, which only raises the stakes of this election, Jose.
Indeed. And so, Temadayo, among the things that stuck out to me, the very first line says the original indictment began with, quote, Donald Trump was the 45th president of the United States. But this new superseding indictment starts with, quote, Donald Trump was a candidate for president in 2020. What does this change mean?
Jose, what that change means is that Jack Smith is focused on adhering to the Supreme Court's immunity decision, which means taking these charges out of the potential realm of official acts and putting them into unofficial acts. And that's what this new indictment is seeking to do. Supreme Court didn't give a whole lot of guidance here, but Jack Smith is effectively going on the offensive. He's getting ahead of this and going to Judge Chutkan with a revised, slimmed-down indictment that really talks about candidate Trump, not President Trump. And what that means here is that he's providing a roadmap that Judge Chutkan, after hearing from the former president's lawyers, could potentially move this case forward to trial. Now, that trial is not going to happen before Election Day, but it does show that the Department of Justice has no intention of backing up on this case and is moving full speed ahead.
So, moving full speed ahead, Lisa, what exactly happens next with this election interference case?
So, Jose, one of the reasons that the Department of Justice might have put forward that superseding indictment yesterday is because they were already facing a deadline this coming Friday for a joint status report with former President Trump's lawyers. That's where each party was supposed to tell Judge Chutkan how they think this case should move forward and when and how. That deadline still exists. And so unless Judge Chutkan comes forward and cancels that, we should expect to hear by Friday from both sides, now that there's been a superseding indictment, what comes next. My expectation is former President Trump's lawyers will say, we get a whole new round of briefing to move to dismiss this indictment on grounds, including but not limited to the fact that it still doesn't comport with the Supreme Court's ruling as to what acts former President Trump is entitled to immunity for. But this is a good faith effort by the special counsel's office to bring this indictment in line with the Supreme Court's ruling. And just as it is in some places, as Tamadayo said, aggressive, in other places, it's very modest. There were a whole series of allegations about January 6th, for example, in communications that former President Trump had that day with advisors, including with respect to the issuance of tweets and public statements. Because those conversations took place with people in the executive branch on White House property, all of those things are gone, including some of the famous tweets and public statements that he issued in the wake of the violence at the Capitol. And so we'll just have to wait to see how Judge Chutkan believes this should go forward. But the time horizon for this case has certainly lengthened. We are nowhere near having a trial in this case, and in fact, may be ripe for briefing that will go all the way up to the Supreme Court and back again before this case is ready for trial, Jose.
And Lisa, meanwhile, I want to play for you something that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said. She spoke with CBS News. I want to play for you some of her remarks.
You were concerned about broad immunity.
I was concerned about a system that appeared to provide immunity for one individual under one set of circumstances, when we have a criminal justice system that had ordinarily treated everyone the same.
What do you make, Lisa, of her comments?
You know, Jose, on one hand, Justice Brown Jackson isn't telling us anything that we didn't already know from reading her writings in the case. On the other hand, it's highly unusual for a sitting Supreme Court justice to comment on a decided case that happened so recently. I can think of no other historical example where someone on the court is commenting on a case decided just months ago. She is choosing her words very carefully, but the fact that that subject was not off limits with CBS News' Norah O'Donnell tells me that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, even in her modest way, is trying purposefully to talk about that case and convey a message, even if it's not straying so far from her written words.
And Vaughn, there's a newly released video of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi the day after the January 6th attack.
Right. This is new footage, HBO footage that was shot by Alexandra Pelosi, who is a documentary filmmaker and also the daughter of Speaker Nancy Pelosi. This footage was obtained by Congress at the request of Congress to HBO and has now just been released. And in this footage, hours of footage from January 5th, 6th, and 7th, you see Nancy Pelosi up close, irate, concerned about the events as they unfold in real time. And I want to let you just listen to one exchange with Speaker Pelosi at that time when she's talking explicitly about Donald Trump just down the road at the White House.
We take an oath to protect our country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. There is a domestic enemy in the White House. And let's not mince words about this.
Again, that was Speaker Pelosi calling Donald Trump a domestic enemy, along with others in the White House. Explicit words that go beyond what she even said publicly at the time of the attack. We also heard Speaker Pelosi bemoan the fact that there was not greater security preparations that would have stayed off those thousands of individuals that attacked the Capitol complex that day, Jose.
Yeah, Tamadayo, I mean, I know you were a senior investigative counsel to the House January 6th committee. I'm just thinking what your reaction is when you see this.
Well, I think that the Speaker's reaction fits the evidence that the committee laid out, which is that the former president knowingly went against and attacked our Constitution. So as far as her language, I'll leave that to her. But I think the evidence supports that the former president did not abide by his oath of office. And, you know, we had a hearing called 187 minutes as the former president watched as the Capitol was attacked, as officers were beaten, as people tried to subvert the peaceful transfer of power. He did nothing. He called no one. He didn't help at all. And I think that's what she's getting at, and that's what the evidence support. But I'll leave the rest to the American people.
Vaughn Hilliard, Timodayo Oganga-Williams, and Lisa Rubin, thank you very much for being with us this morning. From Trump's legal troubles to his political ones, you may remember this moment from Monday when Trump visited Arlington National Cemetery. He was there to honor the 13 U.S. service members killed in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan 3 years ago. But new details about Trump's visit, first reported by NPR, are now emerging, alleging an altercation between two Trump staffers and a cemetery official, after the cemetery official reportedly tried to stop the campaign from filming in a highly restricted area of the cemetery known as Section 60, where photography is banned. NBC's Jonathan Allen is tracking this story for us this morning. Jonathan, good to see you. What's the cemetery saying happened here, and what are we hearing from the Trump campaign?
Yeah, well, Jose, the cemetery is saying that there was an incident and that a report has been filed. So I guess we'll have to wait to see when that gets released, or if there's a Freedom of Information Act request that can get that released to hear the cemetery side of it. The Trump campaign has said, and I think we've got a statement from Stephen Chung, the Trump campaign spokesman, said there was no physical altercation, as had been alleged, in terms of an effort to try to keep the Trump team from photographing in Section 60 and the Trump team trying to photograph in Section 60, and has said that Chung said that they will release video if necessary. I have asked for that video and have not gotten a response. So we'll have to see how this plays out and if it continues to be a cemetery said versus Trump said. But there is a political risk here for Donald Trump, which is that the Afghanistan withdrawal had been something that was an unmitigated political advantage for him up until this moment, where he's now muddied that advantage and given an opportunity for Democrats to suggest that he doesn't really care about the fallen soldiers and instead cares about the politics.
Jonathan Allen, thank you very much.
Thanks,
next, Georgia on their mind. The Harris campaign hits the road, kicking off a bus tour near Savannah ahead of the vice president's first interview since she became the nominee. And millions under the thumb of sweltering heat, with records expected to be smashed once again. We're back in 90 seconds.
Introducing Ned's plaque psoriasis.
Ned, what are you wearing?
He thinks his flaky red patches are all people see.
Otezla is the #1 prescribed pill to treat plaque psoriasis.
Ned?
Otezla can help you get clearer skin and reduce itching and flaking, with no routine blood tests required. Doctors have been prescribing Otezla for over a decade. Otezla is also approved to treat psoriatic arthritis. Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can happen. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Some people taking Otezla had depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur.
With clear skin, movie night is a groovy night. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla.
The UPS store is more than just a shipping store. We're the pack it, ship it, guarantee it store. We know running a small business takes a lot of grit and hustle. So we're the stress less store and the we've got your back store. Because when you trust us to pack it and ship it, we guarantee it, so it'll get into the hands of your customers safely. Which is why we're the stand by our work guaranteed store. Come into the UPS store today and be unstoppable.
15 past the hour, the debate is set. After some public wavering, former President Trump is sticking to the plan to debate Vice President Harris on the 10th of September. But before that, voters will get to see the first big Harris interview. The vice president will sit down with CNN for her first major interview as a nominee, airing tomorrow night. It's going to be a joint appearance with her running mate, Governor Walz. Today, that pair embarks on a bus tour in Georgia. It's Harris's 7th visit to the Peach State this year. She tries to make inroads with rural voters to build on Joe Biden's 2020 success in that state. Joining us now, NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez, Tyler Pager of The Washington Post. former Democratic Congresswoman Donna Edwards and former Romney campaign advisor Lonnie Chen. So, Gabe, what's the significance of this Georgia trip, focusing on the Southeast and Savannah instead of Atlanta?
Well, Jose, as you know, Georgia is a crucial battleground state, and the Harris-Walz campaign was supposed to go there a few weeks ago, but that was postponed because of Tropical Storm Ernesta. But bigger picture, yes, Georgia is a huge state, and they are now focusing on the southeastern part of the state, which is different than what Democrats have traditionally focused on. Look, Democrats have always done very well, of course, in the big city of Atlanta and the surrounding suburbs as well. But by going to the southeast portion of the state and more rural parts of Georgia, the goal is to really cut into the margins of Republicans. Democrats don't think they can win outright many of those rural areas, but the key is if they can just get more votes there, perhaps even 4 or 5 percentage points, that could make a huge difference when it comes to winning the state overall. And it's not just Georgia. The same dynamic is at play in places like North Carolina and Pennsylvania. The Harris campaign feels that it can do very well in some of those rural areas. In Georgia in particular, the demographics are better for them, of course. There's a larger population of African Americans, younger voters that Vice President Harris seems to be doing a lot better with than President Biden, Jose.
And Gabe, what about tomorrow night's interview that the Vice President is giving along with Governor Walz?
Well, certainly it's their first joint interview since, Vice President Harris took over the top of the ticket. Look, this is something that Republicans have been criticizing her for, not doing an interview for more than 35 days or so. So the stakes are incredibly high here. And look, for the Harris campaign, this is a way to put to bed some of that criticism. So far, the last several weeks, she's only taken limited questions on the tarmac. She hasn't held a press conference. So certainly there will be a lot of questions during this interview, for example, on some of her policy positions that she's rolled out over the last couple of weeks. Also, why she seemed to go against some of her policy positions back when she was a candidate back in 2019. So certainly this will be a huge opportunity to see Vice President Harris along with Governor Walz together in a controlled setting, but also being forced to answer some unscripted questions and being held to account for some of their policy positions. The Harris campaign has repeatedly said that she's been out talking to voters. And, this wasn't necessarily a priority in the first weeks of the campaign. But now, after the Democratic National Convention, Vice President Harris said that she planned to schedule an interview before the end of the month. And here we are. Should be quite an interesting interview tomorrow. Jose?
Indeed. Gabe Gutierrez at the White House, thank you so very much. So, Tyler, just your thoughts on the calculation behind this interview tomorrow, how it's going to be carried out, where it's going to be carried out, and the fact that she's going to have Walz there with her.
Yeah, as Gabe was saying, there's been increasing pressure and criticism from even within the Democratic Party for the vice president to sit down and engage with the press. There's a lot of questions, as Gabe just outlined in his previous comment, about what her plans are for president. There's been a lot of policy changes over the last few years in terms of what she supports and what she doesn't. And so I think this will be an opportunity for the American people to get a better sense of what she's running on and what she hopes to accomplish should she be elected in November. And I think this was part of a plan that the campaign had, saying that she was focused on other things. And now they're ready for her to sit down. I think it is an interesting dynamic that her first interview is with her running mate, Governor Tim Walz. I think part of that is to take the pressure off just the vice president, having them appear together. I have some of the questions directed at him and to talk about their partnership. Obviously, since Tim Walz has come onto the ticket, he's become a national figure. Some of that most Americans did not know before he was selected. And the campaign has been very happy with the reception he's received, not just from the Democratic Party, but throughout the country and voters from across the country. And so I think this is an effort to try to highlight that partnership and highlight him as much as it is to highlight Vice President Harris. This is also, something that we see traditionally on campaigns as they do bus tours. Often they'll invite reporters onto the bus with them. When I was a campaign reporter in 2019, I was on Kamala Harris's bus tour through Iowa, and she did a very similar thing, inviting reporters to her portion of the bus to answer questions. So I think we'll see that sort of thing play out tomorrow. Whether or not it will quiet the criticism, I think will remains to be seen how this interview unfolds and how she performs. Obviously, there was that high-profile interview at the beginning of her administration here on NBC with Lester Holt, where she was tripped up over some questions related to her portfolio at the border. So a lot of pressure on her tomorrow to perform well in this interview.
Yeah, I mean, during that interview with Lester that she did right after her trip to Central America, actually, Lester spoke with her in, I believe it was in Guatemala. At the time I was anchoring at Telemundo, was able to have about 15 minutes with her right after that interview, and she was available and accessible. Donna, what do you want to hear from Harris and Walz tomorrow?
Well, look, I think it's really very important for them to introduce themselves to America as a team. It is true that millions of people turned into the convention, but this is kind of a different format. And I think you don't really see Donald Trump and J.D. Vance as a team. And I think that the Harris campaign very strategically has helped to introduce her to the nation and Tim Walz to the nation in their convention. And now sitting down in this interview, I think we're going to hear a little bit more detail on some of the policy positions that she took in the past and is taking now. And that's really going to be an important opportunity for her to explain herself and to define herself as a candidate separate from the Biden-Harris administration.
Lonnie, how important is this first interview?
Well, I think it's critical for a number of reasons. First of all, I think she is probably going to get pressed on some of the ways in which she's changed her policy positions, whether it's on fracking, for example, which has been well publicized. The positions she's taking on immigration now are a little bit different than the ones she took when she ran for president back 4 years ago. So I think on those issues, she's going to be pressed. I think also the degree to which Harris and Walz sort of get along, the degree to which there seem to be a team, I think that will be something that Americans will be observing as well. And I think it's an opportunity for her to sort of shake off this notion that she hasn't been responsive. You know, I think she's got to sit and answer all the questions that are asked of her. And to the degree that she's able to do that, I think people will respond one way or another. So this is a very important interview leading into the first presidential debate, we assume, in a couple of weeks here. And that will be the first opportunity that Americans have to see Harris and Trump on stage together. So this next, 2-week stretch of the campaign is going to be hugely valuable in terms of determining where this race will go as we head toward November.
I have a few questions, but I don't know, when I'll get answers to that. But I want to know, is it going to be pre-taped? Is it going to be edited? How long is it going to be for? But Donna, today there's more backlash over past remarks from J.D. Vance, once again, criticizing people without children. This was in 2021. He specifically calls out the head of the American Federation of Teachers. Take a listen to it.
So many of the leaders of the left, and I hate to be so personal about this, but they're people without kids trying to brainwash the minds of our children. And that really disorients me, and it really disturbs me. Randy Weingarten, who's the head of the most powerful teachers union in the country, she doesn't have a single child. If she wants to brainwash and destroy the minds of children, she should have some of her own and leave ours the hell alone.
Has this become like a bigger problem for Vance and Trump than, just people speaking off the top of their heads?
Well, I mean, J.D. Vance continues to alienate huge swaths of voters. And I mean, the attacks that he's gone on women without children. I mean, think about who these women are. They are, like my sisters, really accomplished and amazing women who contribute, who don't complain about paying taxes for schools and nutrition and all kinds of things that benefit his children. And yet he attacks them. So I do think it's a larger problem because it feeds into the narrative that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump really have something against women and against strong women and independent women. And that's not going to go over well in the electorate.
Lonnie, whether it's these Vance clips or the Harris campaign essentially calling Trump a chicken over this debate issue, it's kind of unusual territory for Trump to be playing defense all the time.
It is a really different posture for this campaign. I think that's one thing that is noteworthy over the last several weeks since Kamala Harris has been the nominee and she's put her campaign organization together. They are more aggressive. They are trying to advance themes that I think that the Biden team may have been a little bit reticent to advance. The way and the tactics in which they're doing it. You're referring, for example, to a video where they superimpose sound of a chicken over Donald Trump answering questions about the upcoming debate. These are tactics and these are things strategically that mark a very different kind of campaign. Now, it'll be interesting to see to what degree this affects how the Trump campaign behaves, how they react, and most importantly, Jose, how the candidate reacts. How does Donald Trump react to all of this? I think that's why this lead up to the debate and the tactical and strategic ways in which the Harris campaign has changed have made this race so much more interesting and compelling than it was just a few weeks ago.
Tyler Pager, Don Edwards, and Lonnie Chen, thank you so very much. Appreciate it. In more January 6th legal news, the very first rioter to breach the Capitol that day has now been sentenced. Michael Sparks was sentenced to more than 4 years in federal prison by a Trump-appointed judge. And at the sentencing hearing, Sparks still parroted Donald Trump's lies about the 2020 election. I want to bring in NBC News justice correspondent Ryan Riley. Ryan, good morning. So tell us more about this.
Yeah, so Michael Sparks was the very first rioter to breach the Capitol that day. After, remember, the Proud Boys broke that window, he was first through. And what's remarkable about his case is you often see two paths that January 6 defendants can take in the aftermath when they're actually charged and face consequences. On the one hand, they can realize that they were tricked, that they were fooled, realize that, and maybe say that they were gullible for falling for these lies in the first place. And the other way that they can go is just full in still buying into the lies about the 2020 election. And that's really the path that Michael Sparks went down. Here, he, apologized to the officers and his family, but he offered no apologies to members of Congress who had to flee that day, and still believes to this day that we are living under, quote, tyranny, and that the election was stolen. The judge issued some really strong words in the aftermath of this and actually departed upward from the sentencing guidelines. He actually told the defendant here that he didn't believe that he realized the seriousness. He said, I don't really think you appreciate the full gravity of what happened that day and, frankly, the full seriousness of what you did. What happened on January 6th just cannot happen again. That's from Judge Timothy Kelly, I should note, who is a Donald Trump appointee himself. Jose?
Ryan Riley, thank you very much. Up next, why Israel just launched a series of raids in the occupied West Bank. Plus, NBC News exclusive reporting about an immigration program paused for possible fraud that could restart soon.
With fatigue and lightheadedness, I knew something was wrong. Then I saw my doctor and found out I have AFib. And that means there's about a 5 times greater risk of stroke. Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if you have AFib, the risk of stroke is always there. If you have one or more symptoms, get checked out. Making that appointment can help you get ahead of stroke risk. This is no time to wait.
Knock, knock. #1 broker here for the #1 hit maker.
Thanks for swinging by, Carl.
No problem. So what are all those for?
This lets me adjust the bass, add more guitar, maybe some drums.
Wow, so many choices.
Yeah, like Schwab. I can get full-service wealth management, advice, invest on my own, and trade on Thinkorswim.
You know Carl is the only front man you need.
Oh, I gotta take this, Carl. It's Schwab.
Schwab.
Have a choice in how you invest with Schwab.
For a limited time, Subway just dropped the price of every footlong in the app to $6.99. Wait, Subway did what? $6.99 footlongs? Yep, says right here, $6.99 for any footlong. Get this deal in the Subway app now before it's too late.
Lumify? It's kind of amazing. Wow. My go-to is Lumify eye drops. Lumify dramatically reduces redness. In 1 minute. And look at the difference. My eyes look brighter and whiter for up to 8 hours.
Lumify really works.
See for yourself.
Honey, but the gains are pumping.
Yeah, the market's closed.
Futures don't sleep in the after hours, bro.
Dad, is Mommy a finance bro?
She switched careers to make money for your weddings.
Ooh, penny stocks are blowing up. Sweetie, grab your piggy bank. We're going all in. Let me ask you, for your wedding, do you want a gazebo in a river?
I don't... What's a gazebo?
Something that your mother always wanted and never got.
Or you could give these different investment options a shot.
The right money moves aren't as aggressive as you think.
I'm keeping the vest.
It wasn't always like this. Dryness made sex painful and awkward. But Reverie's vaginal moisturizer brought back the spark.
Thousands of women have restored their vaginal moisture. Join them at Reverie.com.
Jose,
unnecessary?
No. Neither is missing your daughter's competition to do payroll. With Paycom, employees do their own payroll, so you don't have to miss your daughter's big day. Time to shine. Get Paycom and make the unnecessary unnecessary.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us. And a great deal on Galaxy Z Fold 6 for a total value of $1,250. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday.
Important healthcare announcement. If people tell you your TV is too loud, or if listening in some environments has become too difficult, we are requesting your participation in a special program called the 30-Day Risk-Free Challenge. Hearing Life Hearing Centers are seeking people with hearing difficulties to evaluate a new 100% digital mini hearing aid now being released. All people with hearing aids or hearing difficulties are wanted to take part in this 30-day risk-free challenge evaluating this new high-tech device that sits discreetly behind your ear. This hearing aid is Bluetooth enabled and rechargeable. All hearing assessments are performed at no charge for those taking part in the challenge. Participants will try these hearing aids for 30 days. Now, to take part in this event, you must call. So please get a pencil and write down the number below. Call us and take the Hearing Life 30-Day Risk-Free Challenge.
Vice President Kamala Harris is riding a wave of momentum.
It's challenging to understand how he is supposed to appeal to a general election electorate.
There are people that want what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are selling.
Don't miss the weekend, Saturday and Sunday mornings at 8
on MSNBC.
One of the things I like about what I get to do is that each day is pretty unique. I might find out that there's not a lot of new numbers in the world today, and so today's going to be a day I'm going to spend researching. The only way to really be prepared is to get it all in my brain ahead of time.
33 past the hour. The Palestinian Health Ministry says at least 9 people were killed after Israeli forces conducted a widespread military operation in the occupied West Bank overnight. Israel's foreign affairs minister described the raids as an effort to combat Iran's Eastern terrorist front. NBC's Matt Bradley is with us from Tel Aviv. Matt, what's the very latest on this?
Well, as a matter of fact, Jose, the very latest that we just got word from the U.S. State Department that they are sanctioning one settler group in the West Bank and one settler individual. Now, this is not related to the incursions by the Israelis into the West Bank that, as you mentioned, have now killed at least 9 people and resulted in many injuries. But it does kind of dovetail with that, because what we've been talking about for the last couple of months are a lot of settler violence, Israelis who have been imposing violence on Palestinians who live in the West Bank. But that is the latest we're getting from there, from Washington, but also what's going on in the West Bank. This started overnight with airstrikes and columns of armored vehicles, bulldozers, tanks moving in to the northern part of the West Bank, primarily in the areas of Jenin, Tulkarm. These were the focal points, but there was also some other areas that, have seen some incursions by the Israelis, including, as I mentioned, armored vehicles, airstrikes, hundreds of Israeli soldiers fanning out throughout the northern part of the West Bank, making arrests, these armored vehicles digging for IEDs, explosive devices that Israeli authorities have said they're finding underneath roads. And again, we haven't heard the full extent of these casualties. Those numbers we mentioned are very likely to go up.
And then, Matt, I think it was about 24 hours ago right now when we were learning about this Israeli hostage that had been rescued. What have we learned in this 24-hour period about him?
That's right. Well, I went down to the hospital where he was kind of convalescing. He was in good health, and doctors had been holding him really just for about 24 hours, as you mentioned, ever since he was rescued yesterday morning from the southern part of the Gaza Strip. And I spoke with a family member who said that he had already just been released, really within the last couple of hours. He's gone home to his village, where it sounds like they said they're throwing him a small party. It might be a big party, but this is a cause of celebration, particularly for a lot of that Bedouin Arab community in the southern part of Israel, where he's from. And this is a man who has 11 kids, so he has a huge family. I spoke with just one relative who said that, he's lost 55 pounds during the 326 days that he was being held in tunnels underneath the Gaza Strip, because he just wasn't getting access to enough food, and he was under strict guard the whole time. But this is a man who's very, very grateful to have finally been released. And the community and all of Israel here is really celebrating this. Jose?
Matt Bradley in Tel Aviv, thank you very much. Turning next to an NBC News exclusive about a major immigration program that could be revived starting this week after being put on hold. I'll have the details for you straight ahead. Plus, an unusually hot August, and it's not over yet. How the heat is putting millions under pressure today.
Known as a loving parent. Known for lessons that matter. Known for being a free spirit. No one wants to be known for cancer, but a treatment can be. Keytruda is known to treat cancer. FDA approved for 17 types of cancer. One of those cancers is advanced non-squamous, non-small cell lung cancer, where Keytruda is approved to be used with certain chemotherapies as your first treatment if you do not have an abnormal EGFR or ALK gene.
Keytruda can cause your immune system to attack healthy parts of your body during or after treatment. This may be severe and lead to death. See your doctor right away if you have cough, shortness of breath, chest pain, diarrhea, severe stomach pain, severe nausea or vomiting, headache, light sensitivity, eye problems, irregular heartbeat, extreme tiredness, constipation, dizziness or fainting, changes in appetite, thirst or urine, confusion, memory problems, muscle pain or weakness, fever, rash, itching or flushing. There may be other side effects. Tell your doctor about all your medical conditions, including immune system problems. If you've had or plan to have an organ, tissue, or stem cell transplant, received chest radiation, or have a nervous system problem.
Depending on the type of cancer, Keytruda may be used alone or in combination with other treatments, and is also being studied in hundreds of clinical trials exploring ways to treat even more types of cancer. It's true. Keytruda from Merck. See all the types of cancer Keytruda is known for at Keytruda.com and ask your doctor if Keytruda could be right for you.
Hi, my name is Damian Clark. If you have both Medicare and Medicaid, I have some really encouraging news that you'll definitely want to hear. Depending on the plans available in your area, you may be eligible to get extra benefits with the Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. All these plans include a Healthy Options Allowance, a monthly allowance to help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items. The Healthy Options Allowance is loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend carries over from each month. Other benefits on these plans include free rides to and from your medical appointments, and our large networks of doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. So call the number on your screen now and ask about a Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
Switch to Shopify so you can build it better, scale it faster, and sell more. Much more. Take your business to the next stage when you switch to Shopify.
Why do couples choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
I need it a little cool.
And I need it a lot of.
We're both cool like that.
Sleep Number does that. Actively cools and warms on each side. The Queen Sleep Number C2 smart bed is only $9.99. Plus, get free delivery when you add any base.
I own a lot of businesses, so my tech and my network need to keep up. Thank you, Verizon Business.
Now our businesses get fast and reliable internet from the same network that powers our phones.
So whatever's next, we're cooking with fire.
Switch to the partner businesses rely on.
With bugs, the struggle is real. That's why you need Zevo traps. Zevo works 24/7 to attract and trap flying insects for effortless protection. Zevo, people-friendly, bug-deadly.
Is your shower trying to tell you something? Is getting in and out of the bathtub becoming a safety concern? Are you worried about the cost of a bathroom remodel that could go on for weeks and weeks? Well, now you can have a gorgeous new bath or shower that's safer at a price you can afford with a one-day jacuzzi bath remodel.
It was done the same day. We did not have to wait. It is amazing.
I would give this whole experience an A+. I definitely wish I would have called sooner.
From soft close shower doors and adjustable shower heads to features like grab bars and custom seats that combine safety and style, it's never been easier. Get your free design consultation, schedule your one-day installation, and start loving your new bath or shower right away.
Only weeks left to get waived installation and no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-991-0632. That's 800-991-0632. Call now.
41 past the hour. Now to an NBC News exclusive. Two sources tell NBC a U.S. immigration program that was temporarily paused last month by the Biden administration could be reinstated as early as this week. The program allowed people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to apply for entry to the U.S. from their home countries. But the administration put the program on hold over concerns of fraud. NBC's Homeland Security correspondent, Julia Ainsley, has that exclusive reporting. Julia, great seeing you always. What kind of concerns did officials have over this program?
Well, Jose, we were able to look at an internal report that DHS put together in May, and it's the reason why they paused this program. They found that just over 3,200 sponsors were putting their names out to sponsor over 100,000 migrants. They call these people serial sponsors. In many cases, they use Social Security numbers like all fives, all fours, and still those applications were getting through the system, and some of those people were admitted. Sponsors are supposed to show not only that they can financially support these migrants, but that they have a place to live and that the sponsors themselves are legal residents of the United States, even if it's a legal permanent residency, that they're allowed to be here. We found that, according to this internal report, these sponsors were going to bring 600 migrants to an address that turned out to be a warehouse in Orlando. And in one case, they would bring 700 migrants to a trailer park also in Key West, Florida. A lot of this centering around Florida. As you know, they're sponsoring Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, Venezuelans. And this is something that prompted a review. But as we understand it, Jose, they still have thousands, if not tens of thousands, of these potentially red flag, potentially fraudulent applications to look at. But they're going to restart the program anyway because they think it's so important to keeping the numbers down at the southern border. Because if they don't encourage migrants to apply from their home countries, they're worried more of them will come to the border illegally, Jose.
So, Julia, there's a possibility that these 3,200 sponsors of more than 100,000 people could be in nefarious and very dangerous work. And these 100,000 plus people could be very, very seriously threatened.
Yes, we've seen in the past, Jose, that there's examples of people advertising that they could be sponsors online so that someone would buy their sponsorship. And in previous cases, like when you look at sponsors of unaccompanied children, anytime you have one person taking in a large amount of migrants, usually they're always looking at that for possible human trafficking. This is all of the reasons why they stopped the program. I will say that U.S. officials told us when they restart the program, they want to be looking at these applications, what they say, in small batches and reviewing them manually, which of course raises questions about how they were ever greenlighting these people before.
Yeah, I mean, maybe all the same number for a Social Security number could maybe raise a flag somewhere, although it apparently didn't. Julia, thank you so very much. Really appreciate it. This morning, more than 51 million people are facing alerts as record-breaking heat dome sears much of the U.S. Dangerous temperatures are forcing Chicago and Philadelphia schools to ring early dismissal bells just a day after students returned from summer break. 114-degree temperatures, making yesterday the Windy City's hottest day so far in what's already been a lethally scorching summer. That heat pushing power grids to the max from the Midwest to the East Coast. NBC's Ryan Nobles is in Washington, D.C., where I understand it's going to be about 100 degrees Fahrenheit today. Ryan, how seriously are officials looking into this problem?
Yeah, well, Jose, don't pick on us too much. I know you're from South Florida. You're used to the heat. But it does get warm here at the end of August in Washington, D.C. The average high temperature is around 86 degrees. At last check, we're already at 88 degrees with the possibility that it could get up to as high as 100 degrees. And much like many other cities on the East Coast, Washington, D.C. is bracing to break yet another heat record.
At a time when kids are heading back to school and the leaves will soon be falling, An unexpected turn in the temperature is making life difficult for millions of Americans.
Oh my gosh, this is so hot.
A massive dome of heat is making its way across the country. Temperatures in cities like Chicago, St. Louis, and Cincinnati were 10 to 15 degrees higher than normal, putting air conditioning units to a late season test.
Once those temperatures hit above 80, 85, we start to get a lot of call volume from air conditioners breaking down.
Today, it is the East Coast and Mid-Atlantic's turn to bake.
It's definitely a struggle with not, only getting to school and they have to come right back home.
Schools in Philadelphia are planning for an early dismissal to avoid kids sitting in hot classrooms, many without air conditioning.
Why start before Labor Day every year if maybe the temperatures are rising each year?
In New York City, the U.S. Open is preparing to give players additional breaks if the temperature goes above 86 degrees. And here in the nation's capital, filled with tourists getting in one last summer trip, temperatures are expected to reach as high as 100 degrees.
And there is also the possibility of severe weather that could accompany this heat, the possibility of thunderstorms and flooding up and down the East Coast. But the real issue is those high temperatures. And the city of Washington, D.C. has already declared a heat emergency that will begin at noon today. And the National Weather Service has also issued a heat advisory for Washington, D.C. So far, just in 2024, they've issued 12 of these advisories. Jose, it's the most since 2005.
Ryan Nobles in Washington, thank you very much. Health officials, meanwhile, in the Northeast are sounding the alarm over dangerous diseases transmitted by mosquitoes. A 41-year-old man in New Hampshire died after contracting a rare virus known as triple E. Many people with it don't show any symptoms at all, but if you do get sick, it can be extremely dangerous, causing swelling of the brain. The virus is fatal for about a third of people who develop symptoms. The U.S. is also seeing a growing number of West Nile cases this summer, now in 33 states. And federal officials are on the lookout for cases of a third virus known as sloth fever. At least 20 people returning to the U.S. from Cuba have been infected. Experts say people should take precautions like using bug spray and wearing long sleeves until temperatures drop and mosquito season ends, unless you live in South Florida, where there is no end to a mosquito season. Next, the Paralympic Games kick off today. We're live from Paris with more on the athletes and sports you need to be watching.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022, and the threats are more than you realize. If you're a victim of identity theft, LifeLock works to fix it on your behalf, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. Enroll now.
We planned well for retirement, but I wish we had more cash.
You think those two have any idea that they can sell their life insurance policy for cash, so they're basically sitting on a gold mine? I don't think they have a clue. That's crazy. Well, not everyone knows Coventry's helped thousands of people sell their policies for cash, even term policies. I can't believe they're just sitting up there, sitting on all this cash.
If you own a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, you can sell all or part of it to Coventry, even a term policy, for cash or a combination of cash and coverage with no future premiums.
Someone needs to tell them that they're sitting on a gold mine and you have no idea. Hey, guys, you're sitting on a gold mine.
Do you hear that?
I don't hear anything anymore.
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-459-2600 or visit coventrydirect.com.
Here we go. Consumer Cellular uses the same towers as Big Wireless, but then passes the savings on to you. Save your money for something else. Speaking of, I ordered us some Thai food.
For unlimited talk and text with reliable coverage starting at just $20, call Consumer Cellular.
Start your day with Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
Meet Waterpik Sensonic Complete Care. Now you can have the #1 recommended water flosser brand, plus the award-winning Sensonic toothbrush in one device. Sensonic Complete Care transforms the power of water with precision pulse technology, proven to deliver an effective combination of water pressure and pulsations, removing up to 99.9% of plaque bacteria. When used together, it's up to 3 times as effective at improving gum health. Take control of your oral health with Waterpik Sensonic Complete Care.
Did you know your skin barrier is more receptive to skincare at night? Olay Super Serum Night Repair delivers 5 benefits in 1. Visibly renewing surface skin cells while you sleep. You'll see visible results in 7 nights. Olay.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not even in a doctor's office. I'm standing on the streets talking to real people about their heart. How's your heart?
My heart's pretty good.
You sure?
I think so.
How do you know? You're driving a car, you have the check engine light, but the heart doesn't have a hey, check heart sign. I want to show you something. Put both fingers right on those pads. There you go. In 30 seconds, we're going to have a medical-grade EKG reading. There it is. That is you.
Look at that.
With KardioMobile, you can take a medical-grade EKG in just 30 seconds from anywhere. KardioMobile is proven to detect atrial fibrillation, one of the leading causes of stroke. And it's the only personal EKG that's FDA cleared to detect normal heart rhythm, bradycardia, and tachycardia.
How much do you think this device costs?
Probably $1,000.
$99.
Wow, that's impressive.
Checking your heart anytime, anywhere has never been easier. And KardioMobile is now HSA, FSA eligible. Get KardioMobile today for just $79 at Kardia.com or Amazon.
All right, men, I'm about to put you onto something incredible.
It's Blue Chew.
Blue Chew.
Blue Chew?
Blue Chew.
Blue Chew. Blue Chew.
Blue Chew. And it helps men achieve stronger and longer lasting erections, which is pretty helpful. And it's an online service that delivers directly to your door, plus the first month is completely free. So why not try it? And yeah, chew it and do it. It's Blue Chew. Come on, babe.
.53 past the hour. The summer games are not over yet. In many ways, they're just beginning. Paris is gearing up again to host another mega sporting event. Take a look at this live shot of the Arc de Triomphe. The Paralympic Games start today. The opening ceremony kicks off at 2 p.m. Eastern, hosted at the Place de la Concorde. There you see it. Wow, what a great shot. Over the weekend, and about a week and a half more than 4,000 para-athletes will compete in 22 different sports. Joining us from Paris is NBC News correspondent Emily Ketta. Emily, it's great seeing you. They're at the right in front of the Arc de Triomphe. Lots of celebrations this summer. What and who are we expecting to see this week?
Hey there, Jose. Good to be with you. This area is teeming with excitement. I love it. Event organizers are calling this the second half to the game, right? The Olympics were the first half. You got to tune in for the second half as well. In a few short hours, hundreds, thousands of Paralympians will be converging not far from here, but on the Champs-Elysees, parading down the street to kick off the opening ceremonies, which will kick off 11 days of fierce competition across 22 different sports. Leading Team USA, the flag bearers, Steve Serio of the men's wheelchair basketball team, along with Nikki Nieves of sitting volleyball. We've talked to fans who've traveled all the way from America to talk about their excitement. Take a listen here.
It's very exciting. The fact that the whole city takes it on and believes in the athleticism of these athletes. These are high-performance athletes. They train very, very hard. And I just love to see the Paralympics and so many guests and family that are here. It's amazing.
Both sitting volleyball and men's wheelchair basketball, they are going for their third gold in a row, Jose. Let's go. Let the games begin.
Emily Ketta in Paris for us. Thank you so much, Emily. It's great.
say, oh, well, we're the manufacturer. You have to call the installer for that problem, or vice versa. We're the full-service replacement window division of Andersen. With us, there's no passing the buck. At Renewal by Andersen, we sell, build, install, and warrant our windows and patio doors. So if there's ever an issue, we take full responsibility for it.
Why don't you sell vinyl windows?
It doesn't matter if it's a $200 window or a $1,200 window. A lot of vinyl windows just don't last. For energy efficiency and beauty, there's a much better option. Our Windows Fibrex composite material is available in 9 designer colors, and it's much more durable than vinyl. Well, Fibrex is low maintenance like vinyl, but stronger than vinyl. And it's beautiful like wood, but doesn't require the upkeep of wood.
It's Renewal by Andersen's 31-day sales event. Buy one window, patio door, or entry door and get the next one 40% off with a minimum purchase of 4. Plus, save an extra $45 on every window and door with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 12 months. Our 31-day sales event ends August 31st. For a free appointment during this sales event, call 1-800-460-7700.
I own a lot of businesses, so my tech and my network need to keep up. Thank you, Verizon Business.
Now our businesses get fast and reliable internet from the same network that powers our phones.
So whatever's next, we're cooking with fire.
Switch to the partner businesses rely on.
Whatever life throws your way, just click through your day.
We need a small business loan fast.
I got this.
Loan Falcon!
There's a better way to get a fast small business loan. Go to OnDeck.com, and if approved, get your funds as soon as the same day. Your loan is on deck.
We need a miracle.
Miracle every Thursday starting at 2:45.
I love you.
I know.
Find childcare that fits your schedule at care.com.
Why do couples choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
I sleep great now that my side's as firm as my heart desires.
My heart desires soft.
Sleep Number does that.
Your ideal firmness and effortless comfort all night. During our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed and free delivery when you add any base.
The best feeling is when we take off our bras. It's not true. Honeylove bras are the most comfortable bras I've ever worn. No underwire. There is some boning on the sides, which make it super comfortable and supportive. No back fat, never. It's fun, it's beautiful, it's supportive.
Free 30-day returns. Shop now at honeylove.com.
Now let's go to Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz.
These guys are just weird. Robber barons like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump gutted the Midwest.
Your first reaction to the choice of Tim Walz?
Democrats were deflated. Now, game is on.
I think this race is going to get even more interesting.
Morning Joe, weekdays from 6 to 10 on MSNBC.
Welcome back, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. I'm Jose Diaz-Balart. We begin this hour with a major development in former President Donald Trump's legal battles. Special counsel Jack Smith filing a superseding indictment against Trump over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. It comes nearly 2 months after the original case was derailed over a landmark Supreme Court decision finding presidents have broad immunity for official acts. Now, this updated indictment contains the original 4 charges, which Trump has pleaded not guilty to, but some of the allegations against him have been revised. The special counsel saying in the filing, quote, the superseding indictment reflects the government's efforts to respect and implement the Supreme Court's holdings and remand instructions. Joining us now, Katie Phang, MSNBC legal contributor and host of the